All of us crave sweets at some time or another, but have these savory sugars gotten a bad reputation? It's commonly accepted that too much sugar will make children bounce off the walls, but does sugar make them hyperactive, or is that just a myth? I want to know. Do you guys believe sugar has any effect on kids?
Absolutely.
The sugar makes them wired.
It can make them hyperactive.
Does it make you jump up and down and run around?
Yeah.
It races them and makes them nutty.
Puts them on a little bit of a high for a period of time and they come crashing down.
Nutty?
Nutty.
We're going to find out for ourselves what effect sugar will have on kids. For this experiment, I'm going deep undercover to a place where we're sure to get some answers. A childcare centre. You're probably wondering what I'm doing. I'm rigging a bunch of hidden cameras so that we can find out what happens when you give kids sugary drinks. Does it really make them go hyper? We're gonna find out. I reckon I can swing higher than you can.
I don't know. This was my favorite thing when I was younger.
Developmental pediatrician Dr. Patricia Quinn is going to give us a helping hand. I brought the drinks. How are we going to do this?
We're going to test whether sugar causes hyperactivity in preschoolers by dividing the children in 3 groups.
Right.
One group, we're going to give them lemonade that has an artificial sweetener, sucralose.
Okay. Those kids will be in the blue shirts.
The other group, we're going to give plain water.
They'll be in the yellow shirts.
And then the third group, we're going to give white grape juice that has lots of sugar.
Red shirts for them. Before the experiment, the kids were behaving, well, like kids. Normal energy levels for preschoolers. Here they come. Brace yourself.
And let's see, we have one here for you. And here's one for you over
There's one for you, Audrey.
And this guy gets one of these nice ones over here.
Okay, kids, to the playroom. We've got 2 hidden cameras, A and B, to show us who acts out and if there's any link with who had sugar and who didn't. You'll find out. First, let's check back with our 2 hidden cameras and see if sugar has had any effect on our kids. Remember, the red shirts drank sugar, the blue drank artificial sweetener, and the yellow drank water. So it's 25 minutes in and we really can't see any difference in the behavior between the different kids. The ones who've had the sugar aren't any more hyper than the ones who've had the water or even the ones who've had the artificial sweetener.
Their behaviors all seem to be pretty much the same right now.
Yeah. So what else could influence the way kids are?
I think environment plays a huge role. When the teacher reads a story or has them all up playing, they all look the same. And then when they're asked to go sit down and play quietly, we again see the children who had the sugar drinks as well as the other children are seeking out activities rather quietly.
Sugar. Maybe it doesn't make kids hyper. Now let's get the final results on our sugar experiment. We're 35 minutes into the experiment and we still can't see much difference at all between the different kids. Developmental pediatrician Dr. Patricia Quinn is here to make some sense of what we're seeing. They're actually doing pretty well.
You can see there's lots of cooperative play here where they're building a tower together, and that's a child who had the water and a child who had the grape juice. This is another little boy over here who's had the grape juice. He's building quietly. I think we really don't see any difference in behaviors.
What a good bunch of kids.
I think we have a lot of quiet play, a lot of cooperative play. The behaviors are all the same. You're disappointed, aren't you?
Well, just a little. I'd hoped we might have the odd tantrum or tears or whatever, and I was hoping that it would be like all the red kids, but there's one of the kids in blue who had the artificial sweetener just spinning around a little bit there.
And we've seen the children with the water have as much activity as the kids who've had the sugar.
Yeah.
I don't think we saw any change in the behaviors from the beginning of the morning until now, and certainly the drinks didn't influence any of the behaviors we saw.
So can we lay that one well and truly to rest then?
From what we saw today, I'd say yes.
The idea that sugar causes hyperactivity in kids, it's just a myth. Where does the myth come from? The most likely explanation is that adults expect kids to be hyper after eating sweets, so they blame the sugar for any excess energy. Don't forget that sugar is bad for kids for other reasons. It's bad for your teeth, and it can lead to obesity. Like lightning, the moon has long been associated with mystery and spirituality. Even if you don't believe in werewolves, common law has it that the moon can make people act a bit strange. Welcome to Dr. No by Night. It's a full moon and we're heading out to see if people really do go a bit crazy when the moon is up. Every 28 days, the full moon reappears overhead. And some say that when we fall under its spell, we become more violent and act out in bizarre and unexpected ways. But is it true? There are only a few hours left until the sun comes up, so I've got to act fast to see if moon-inspired madness is real or just a myth. Do you believe in the power of the full moon?
I do.
What do you think it does to people?
At times, it'll make them crazy.
Something with the gravitational pull makes them a little more odd than normal. I mean, I've witnessed bizarre things.
But isn't the gravitational pull the same, however much you can see of it?
Honey, I don't know. It's physics. I don't know this stuff.
Do you think the full moon could be affecting you right now? Do you believe in the power of the full moon?
Yes, I do. The fuller the moon, the more amorous people get.
Are you feeling extra amorous tonight?
I am. What are you up to later?
This much we do know. The moon has a pretty big impact on the Earth. It controls the tides, and that's no myth. Humans are 60% water, so wouldn't we feel at least a little pull from that great white orb in the sky? I'm paying a late-night visit to Dr. Norman Rosenthal, a psychiatrist who specializes in matters of light and dark.
Some have suggested that the moon, by its gravitational pull, might influence the liquids in our semicircular canals.
I can feel the pull.
I think that is excessively fanciful.
But we're 60% water.
But there's not very much in our semicircular canals.
So that theory really doesn't hold water. But it's still too soon to give up on this full moon myth. Next stop, the Montgomery County, Maryland 911 Dispatch Center for another perspective. All the 911 calls for the county come through here. If any craziness happens tonight, these people will be the first to hear about it. Is this turning into a bit of a classic full moon kind of night?
I have to be honest with you, and without, yes, it is.
Things get a little crazy.
We get weirder calls, crazier calls. One guy we had in a truck with the doors open, and he's driving the truck and throwing things out of the vehicle. That's not routine.
We get a lot of domestics.
We get a lot of fights.
More violent crimes.
We get a lot of calls about people acting like they're mentally unstable and maybe undressing.
Okay, what's your
We've
name?
got a half-naked guy walking in and out and getting into a vehicle.
Okay, what's your name again? It's gonna be one of those nights.
From what the dispatchers say, full moon nights are definitely out of the ordinary, but I'm not convinced. People say that more babies are born under the full moon, but a study of 500,000 births showed you've got just as good a chance of being born on the full moon as you do on the half moon, the new moon, or the average Tuesday afternoon. But what about the full moon and madness? Is there really a connection? I'm off to a fire and rescue station to see if I can get any answers there. Anybody home? Hello? Hey guys, how's it going?
What's up, Doc?
Hi.
How you doing, Dad?
Oh, pretty good. Do you know what night it is tonight?
Full moon tonight.
So is it really busy for you guys when there's a full moon?
Have they done, anybody done statistics on something like that?
I was just going to ask you guys that next. Has anybody ever looked?
We're going to ask you that, Doc.
As a matter of fact, there have been plenty of studies on every phase of the moon's influence. One is car accidents. The UK's Churchill Insurance Group has found that accidents are 14% more likely to occur under the full moon. But is it more likely that people will do something violent or even dangerous with the full moon overhead? So what happened?
We just came back from a call for a mentally off patient. She evidently was chasing her husband around with a butcher knife.
What do you guys think about the full moon? Do you think it really does make people go a bit weird?
No, I don't think so.
So what do you think? Do you think it gets a bit hairy on a full moon?
People probably don't even pay attention to it. I think it's probably pure coincidental.
Is it also purely coincidental that lunatic comes from the Latin word luna, meaning moon? Certainly not. Many cultures have adopted the idea that the moon is linked to outrageous behavior. The Chinese, for example, believe that the full moon, which represents the yang, actually raises the energy level in males. There are plenty of myths and stories linking the full moon and madness, but time is running out and I still want to know, is there any evidence to back it up? Coming up, it's off to the scene of a full moon crime, and who knows what we'll find before the night is through. I'm heading out with Police Officer Joe, and we're going to see what the police think about the full moon. What's it like around here when there's a full moon?
You do get some of the more bizarre calls.
Male caller yelling that he was just doing nothing further.
Copy.
Domestic violence and assaults are supposed to be pretty classic full moon kind of call-outs.
4 buddies drinking, 4 buddies got drunk, 4 buddies duked it out. One of them ran and called us, and he's somewhere in the woods.
So that sounds like a pretty weird kind of thing to happen.
People drinking and then getting into fights is not. The calling 911 and screaming on the phone and then running into a field and then having somebody chase him into the field, that gets a little bizarre.
Yeah, classic full moon stuff.
If you want to call it that, sure.
A well-known book called The Lunar Effect found that murder rates over a 15-year period were linked to the full and new moon. But many other studies have found just the opposite. Now it's back to Dr. Rosenthal for a little more insight on the full moon. Thank you for staying up so late with us, Dr. Rosenthal.
My pleasure.
Do you think the full moon really does make people go a bit loopy?
I wish I could be confident, but the data on psychiatric problems with the full moon are weak.
Why are people so convinced about the effects of the full moon when there's no data to support it?
I believe that the effects of the moon were much more powerful before the advent of artificial light. We know that people with bipolar disorder are not able to take sleep deprivation easily. They become manic if they get sleep deprived. On a full moon night, especially in the past, that the powerful light of the moon could keep people up, agitate them, and perhaps drive them mad.
So wait, is the full moon effect real or not? By the end of our night, there'd been 52 criminal incidents, including murders, suicides, and property damage in Montgomery County, Maryland. The average night that month had 47 incidents. Not much of a difference. Over the last 6 months, you can see the same pattern. No spike in crime or strangeness under the full moon. So there you have it. There's absolutely nothing to the link between the full moon and madness after all. And as for werewolves, don't be ridiculous. Now that we've debunked that myth, I think I'm going to head home for a good night's sleep. Oh, here's my ride.
I would like you to...